Welcome to Loving Life, a guide to a positive mindset. I'm your host, Lisa. I'm a mindset and energy coach, and each week you'll discover mindset shifts, energy practices, and real life tools to help you feel more confident, calm, and in flow, because you deserve to love the life you're creating. I'm so glad you're here with me. Let's get going on today's episode. Welcome to Loving Life. I'm coming to you from the garden today because it's too bloody hot in the house to do anything. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and it's still nice and shaded in the garden at the moment. So I thought, how lovely for you to hear the birds chirping away in the background. So here we are. Now, what a big week it's been. We've had the Lionsgate. We've had the eclipse, we've had the new moon, we've had the meteor shower. That is a lot going on in a week. And what do we see all over social media? If your algorithm is anything like mine, we see things about letting go, things about calling in. We see spells, we see manifesting, we see talk around portals, energy shifts, manifestation. And yes, I know I'm guilty of it myself, but all this talk leads us asking for signs. We spend so much time asking for signs from the universe. But something I want to talk about today is, what if the universe has been talking to us all along? Before we get into that though, I just want to take a look at the downloads from last week. So the highest amount of downloads last week, from last week's episode, was Chicago, and followed by LA, followed by Minneapolis. So if you're in any of those places, thank you so much. Wherever you are though, thank you so much for coming back and listening to me again. Honestly, it means so much, especially when you send me a message and tell me what has resonated in any of the episodes. So before we get into that question, what if the universe has been talking to us all along? Let's look at what signs actually are. What actually is a sign? And some of these signs are ones that we ask for, and some of them are things that just happen to us and we have to notice them. So things like synchronicities. So like when you meet someone on a train who happens to be very good friends with another friend of yours. And yes, that has happened to me. That's still a mad synchronicity. So Kelly, if you're listening, you're still one of the biggest synchronicities I think that's ever happened to me. But repeating numbers as well. You know how much I love an angel number. I don't always know what they mean, but I know that they're a sign and I know that they are significant. Songs appearing at exactly the right moment. So whether that is a song that means something to you, or there's a line in a song that is relevant to something that's going on in your life at the moment. Dreams, especially the ones that stay with you. Animals or symbols, other symbols, appearing repeatedly. Or just that weird knowing, when you just know. You might be feeling drawn towards something for no logical reason whatsoever. On that coincidence that feels just too coincidental. Maybe something like a book falling on your head at exactly the right moment. Oh, I need to take a picture of this. The sun reflecting on the pool. It looks amazing. Beautiful. But all those moments, at what point do they start to feel like synchronicity? At what point do we start to realise that they are more than just coincidence? Because two people can experience exactly the same thing and only one person feels something significant about it. One person might think they were in the wrong place at the wrong time if a book falls on their heads, whereas another person would ask, what does this mean? So the magic isn't necessarily in the event itself. The magic is in our relationship with the event. And noticing, what does it awaken in you? What suddenly feels possible? What suddenly doesn't feel possible anymore? And instead of asking the question, what is the universe trying to tell me? The universe can't necessarily spell it out for you. You need to ask things like, what am I noticing? What keeps coming back? What am I being drawn towards? What am I resisting? What feels different? What would I choose if I trusted myself? Because those are the signs. Because the thing is, when we are actively looking for signs, we probably ask the universe things like, should I do this? Is this person right for me? Am I on the right path? Is this going to work? And then we find ourselves desperately looking for a sign, hunting for confirmation. But are we looking for a sign because we don't trust ourselves? That is the question. Why do we need a sign? The sign isn't supposed to make the decision for us. And I think what we're actually asking the universe is to give us permission to trust something that we already feel. So when these synchronicities, when these coincidences happen, rather than asking, what is the universe trying to tell me? Why did that catch my attention? And talking about signs, what about the signs we don't want to see? Because we always talk about the lovely signs, feathers, angel numbers, unexpected opportunities, manifestations arriving, or signs that they're arriving. But what about the relationship that keeps showing you the same lesson? What about the job that keeps draining you? The friendship that you've outgrown? The thing that you keep trying to force? That feeling in your body every time you say yes to doing something when actually you mean no. What if those things are signs too? Breaking your hand. If you're new here, I should probably give you some context to that. But if you're new here, about 4 years ago, over 4 years ago now, I was making wedding cakes for a living, and I was asking the universe, should I still be making wedding cakes? Now, obviously, the universe can't give me a yes or no answer. Well, actually, that's not true, because one morning I did ask that question, and I went to Aldi and came back with a broken hand. So I guess there was my yes or no answer. That was definitely a no. You shouldn't still be making wedding cakes. The fact that I need to use my hands to make wedding cakes and I came back with a broken hand, that's a sign. So these bad things that happen are signs as well. So at least when bad things happen, we can often take something good out of it if we listen to it. I believe they're signs anyway. But what if, instead of looking for signs, we listened to our intuition instead and listened to fear? Because I know if I would have done that, like the fact that I was even asking the question, I didn't trust the answers I had within myself, so I needed a definitive answer. But what if we trusted our intuition? So what does intuition even feel like? Is it quiet? Is it persistent? Is it neutral? Is it a bodily sensation? Is it something that keeps returning? Is it different from the frantic I need to know feeling? And intuition is going to show up differently in everybody, but it's often that strange knowing that we sometimes ignore. Maybe it's a pull towards something that you can't explain. Maybe it's the person you feel drawn to. Is it the sudden urge to take a different route? Maybe it's the idea that keeps coming back to you, or the thing that you've dismissed 10 times, but somehow you haven't been able to let go of it. However, this is often where fear takes over. When we start to listen to our intuition or start to notice our intuition, our logical mind then needs evidence. But your intuition arrives first. Your intuition, going back to that strange knowing that sometimes we ignore. Like, yes, that was your intuition trying to poke through, but then your subconscious mind is poo-pooing it because it wants evidence. Your intuition tries to speak to you through your body, through your energy, through your dreams, through your emotions, through the things that you are suddenly drawn towards, through the things that you can no longer tolerate, the people you suddenly outgrow, the opportunities that keep appearing, the doors that repeatedly close, that feeling that something has shifted before you can explain why. The universe doesn't always communicate through angel numbers and feathers. Sometimes it communicates through discomforts, showing us discomforts. They can be a sign too. Now, I imagine that you are probably a high-functioning woman. You cope. People probably look at you and think you've got it all together. But high-functioning women are often desperate for certainty. They want to know, where is this going? Will this work? Am I making the right decision? What's the plan? Because I'm not being funny, we ain't got time for making decisions. We haven't got time for getting things wrong. So we want to know. But obviously, the universe isn't going to hand us the whole map. The universe isn't going to hand us all the answers because, well, where's the fun in that? And this has actually reminded me of a conversation I had with one of my inner circle members only on the weekend. And she feels like she's been waiting for this huge spiritual awakening because that is often what people talk about. So that's what we want. But in reality, those awakenings, those realizations, they happen over time. There's the nudge, then there's another. Then maybe a door opens, then a feeling, then a synchronicity, then maybe another little breadcrumb. And eventually we realise that we've travelled quite a long way. And it's only when we take time to step back and look at how far we've come, look at the signs we've listened to, look at the ones we've ignored. So something I want you to consider is, what if you are the sign? Because we're often looking on the outside of ourselves. Give me a sign. Show me I'm on the right path. Tell me what to do. But what if the repeated thought is the sign? What if the desire is the sign? What if the discomfort is the sign? What if the dream that you've secretly been carrying for years is the sign? What if you already know? Because you do. But I think we've become so accustomed to looking externally for confirmation that we've forgotten to listen to ourselves. And I had my own little moment the other night, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But before I do that, I just want to say, if you feel drawn to this kind of thing, if you feel drawn to working with your intuition more, if you feel drawn to trusting yourself more, this is exactly the kind of thing that we work on every month in my inner circle. So of course you can join it at any time and immediately have access to all of the back catalogue of sessions that we have already done within the membership. They're all recorded within the portal. And I would absolutely love to welcome you. So if that is something you would like to look at, I'll pop the link to the inner circle in the show notes. Maybe there's something deeper that you want to work on. Maybe you know that you don't trust yourself and you know that there is a subconscious belief stopping you from trusting yourself. Maybe there's something you want to work on a little bit deeper on a one-to-one level. You can do that as well. And on a one-to-one level, I use a method called belief coding. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, in belief coding, we will work out the subconscious beliefs that are holding you back, stopping you doing what it is you want to do, working out what emotion is trapped, keeping that belief stuck in you. So I'll pop the link to working with me one-to-one in the show notes as well. But just before I go today, I just want to tell you about a bit of a full circle moment I had the other night, actually. So we had the eclipse, obviously, which, funnily enough, as we came to the peak of it, the clouds came over, of course. So that was quite funny. But I still did the work, or working out what I was ready to let go of, and then welcoming in a new version of me. You know, I did all of that. Then I was like, oh, that's okay, because there's a meteor shower tonight as well. So I'll stay up for that a little bit. And it was when I was looking up at the sky and thinking, right, when I see a shooting star, what am I going to wish for? And it was at that point, I was like, I don't need to wish for anything else. I wake up every morning in a beautiful house, in my comfy bed. I've got 2 amazing boys that I am super proud of. I have got a soulmate and a best friend who I wake up next to every day, who supports me in everything I do. Like literally, what more could I ask for? Anything else that happens now is a bonus. That's not to say that I don't want to strive for more, but I don't need to, at this moment in time, I don't feel the need to make a wish for anything more. I am very much in the gratitude stage of enjoying everything I've got, because that's the point in Love and Life. That is the point in this podcast, is to love your life. So yeah, that was a bit of a full circle moment. So I went to bed. I didn't bother staying up for the meteor shower. I went to bed and had a very hot night's sleep. Thank you so much for listening today. If you're interested in working with me in any of those ways, whether that is the inner circle or one-to-one, do reach out and let me know. And if you've had a conversation with somebody recently about looking for signs, then do send them this episode, because it might help them see that the signs are already there within them. Okay, thank you so much for all your support, and I will see you next week. Sending you so much love. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could take a moment to subscribe, rate, and if you're listening on Apple, as 95% of you do, review. It really helps the podcast reach more people who are ready to shift their mindset and raise their vibration. And if you know someone who would benefit from today's episode, feel free to share it with them. Until next time, keep loving life and know that I'm sending you so much love.